Hey y'all, my name's Claudia, 37, female. Thanks for selecting my story. I guess I'll jump right into it. I was always one of those people who thought she had her whole life planned out. I mean, who doesn't, right? But life is like that messy ball of yarn that your cat gets into, and suddenly everything is tangled and confusing. I lost my first husband when I was just 27. It was like life hit me with a sucker punch. We were young and in love, or at least that's what I thought. He got into a car accident, and just like that, he was gone. It felt like someone had pulled the ground from under me, tossing me off. The pain and stress of losing him made me believe I'd never find love again. The idea of opening up my heart to someone new seemed impossible. Years started flying by, and I started feeling this loneliness creeping in. I craved companionship, but the idea of jumping into the dating scene terrified me. Where do you even start? So there I was, dabbling in the world of online dating, speed dating, you name it. But honestly, no man seemed to ignite that spark. They were either too bland, too intense, or just not the right fit. It felt like searching for a needle in a haystack. Enter Lester. Now, Lester was different. He had this Cuban-American charm that intrigued me. It wasn't love at first sight, but there was something about the way he made me laugh. We started talking, and before I knew it, we were inseparable. You're incredible, Claudia. I never thought I'd be able to find love in this lifetime, but you came around and changed my whole life. Honestly, Lester, you've made me believe in love again. This is no small task. You're amazing. Lester and I were getting closer and closer by the minute. I was so skeptical. I thought that some crap was going to hit the fan, and maybe I manifested it, but it surely did. You see, Lester came with a package deal named Wanda, his mother. Wanda had this uncanny ability to come out of thin air whenever Lester and I were getting serious. It's like she had a radar for our romantic milestones, birthdays, anniversaries, or just a quiet dinner at home. She'd appear like a genie ready to pass judgment. Now, Wanda was traditional, a real women belong in the kitchen kind of gal. And here comes me, Claudia, the unconventional wife. I didn't do much cooking. Cleaning wasn't a 24/7 gig for me. Sorry. And the real kicker, I had no interest in having kids. That last part, well, that was the deal breaker for Wanda. Picture this. We're at a restaurant, Lester, Wanda, and I. It was supposed to be a casual, get-to-know-each-other, better kind of night. Little did I know, it was the night Wanda would discover my non-traditional stance on motherhood. As we sat there, sipping on our drinks and scanning the menu, the conversation took a turn. Wanda innocently asked about our plans for the future, probably expecting to hear about a white picket fence and a nursery in the making. You two are just so adorable. I didn't think that my baby would find someone. He was always so grumpy. And don't even get me started on his flirting skills. Just horrible. Mom, really? I wonder how he even got a woman to be with him this long, but considering that you're a lacking woman yourself, I'm not too surprised that you two are getting along. Mom, stop it right now. What's that supposed to mean? I just mean that you don't do things that are, what the kids say, wife material. Yeah, that's it. You don't know how to be a wife. Maybe according to your standards, but I reckon that I'd be a great wife. I did it once before, and I can do it again. Oh, yeah? And what do you provide? What can you do for my son? Well, I can be a loving companion. I can be his rock, his supporter, and his best friend. Ha! She thinks those are wifey qualities. I do, actually. What about cooking, cleaning, huh? Well, maybe his mother should have taught him how to do those things. I'm not anyone's babysitter. Okay, ladies, I think it's time to get some more refreshments. What do you say? Wanda and I kind of just mumbled in agreement, obviously feeling a bit bitter after this little tiff. She was getting on my nerves. I knew she came from a super traditional background, but geez, Cut a girl some slack. I was still feeling a bit annoyed with Wanda's rudeness, so I decided to stir the pot a little and said, "It's a shame you're not super into the modern way of doing things, because you should know I'm not really interested in having kids." The silence that followed was thicker than the black bean soup on the table. Wanda's eyes got so huge and I could practically see the gears turning in her head. I knew at that moment there was no turning back. I had just dented the picture-perfect image she had for her son's future. Wanda, being the traditionalist, had probably envisioned family gatherings with grandkids running around, a big Thanksgiving table, and a bustling home filled with the pitter-patter of little feet. What she got instead was a future daughter-in-law who preferred a quiet dinner date over changing diapers. She started rambling. "No children? What the hell is wrong with today's kids?" "Mama, please calm down. People are starting to stare." "I don't care. This woman is trying to give me a heart attack." "I don't know what the fuss is all about. I'm 36, for God's sakes. Did you think that I'd have all the time in the world to birth a team of footballers just so you could have grandkids? Lester, if you don't leave this woman right now..." "How dare you? Ladies, enough. Mom, I love you, but I love this woman. She's the love of my life. I know we're not doing things traditionally, but I promise you I'll be fine." "Whatever. Don't come crawling to me when it doesn't work out. Now, where's that damn waiter?" From that day forward, Wanda fully disapproved of our relationship. I mean, she wasn't exactly gung-ho about it before either, but this time, oh yeah, she was ready to put my head on a chopping block. It wasn't just about the kids, it was about the clash of traditions and expectations, and a clear lack of respect from both sides. Every time she dropped by unexpectedly or offered to teach me a proper recipe, it felt like a not-so-subtle reminder of annoyance with me, and I didn't take that kind of nice, nasty, passive-aggressive BS. So I would always snap right back at her. It was not a good relationship dynamic, to say the least. But love, stubborn as it is, kept Lester and me going. Despite the cultural differences and the dent in our relationship, we set out for our own version of happiness, one that didn't fit the traditional mold but felt uniquely ours, or so I thought. Within a year, Lester and I found ourselves exchanging vows. The wedding bells rang and I found myself blissfully married. But oh boy, did that send Wanda over the edge. She moaned and groaned about how it was all too soon and how it didn't make any sense. She was so close to not coming at all, but Lester convinced her, seeing as this was indeed the first time he was getting married. Looking back, I realize this might be the only thing we ever agreed on. The wedding brought out Wanda's traditionalist side in full force. She questioned our decision, shook her head constantly, and probably lost a few nights' sleep over the idea that her son was now a married man. Her son, who was supposed to follow the path she'd envisioned for him, the path of a traditional family with a traditional wife and traditional grandkids. Shortly after the wedding, Lester came to me with a big surprise. And no, it wasn't a sandwich at midnight, although that would have been delightful. It was an announcement that made my heart skip a beat. Imagine my surprise when Lester came up to me and said, "My mom is going to move in with us." He didn't even ask me. That was a huge red flag, but of course I didn't see it till it was too late. I couldn't wrap my head around it. Wanda wasn't frail or in need of constant care. She was vibrant and independent, maybe too much even. So why on earth did she need to live with us? It was like my cozy little life was being invaded by a hurricane named Wanda. Despite the weirdness of the situation, I agreed. Love makes you do strange things, right? So Wanda moved in, bringing her spicy cooking and a constant stream of advice. I thought I was signing up for a lifetime partnership with Lester, not a mother-in-law who'd give me tips on how to keep her son happy. It was a nightmare. I felt so anxious in my own home. Wanda's presence was scary and annoying. She had this knack for popping up in our personal spaces when we least expected it. offering relationship advice with a side of arroz con frijoles. It was like living in a romantic comedy written by someone who had never been married. Why was she always up in our business? When Lester and I would have our morning alone, she was there. When we would work out together, she was there. When we were having a romantic movie night, she was there. One day I got upset and I blurted out, "Isn't it enough that you're invading our personal space? Why must you be everywhere all the time?" Wanda and Lester were shocked that came out of my mouth. Honestly, I was shocked too. And then Wanda said something even more shocking. "If you have a problem with it, then you should talk to Lester, because he was the one who wanted me here." I was utterly shocked when I found out the truth. I turned to Lester, giving him that look that said, "Is that true?" The poor guy seemed too embarrassed to offer any defense. Well, I got my confirmation. You see, these past couple of months, he had me believing that it was his mother who wanted to be there, how she practically begged him to move in with us. But his lack of response told me everything I needed to know. Without saying anything, I stormed upstairs, slammed the bedroom door shut, and locked it behind me. He was going to sleep on the couch that night, and I didn't care about his bad back. The next morning, the house was filled with awkwardness. I didn't like Wanda. Wanda didn't like me, and I didn't like Lester at that moment. It felt like some stupid high school game. As the days turned into weeks, I found myself questioning why I did this to myself. I started reconsidering everything, thinking that I jumped into this way too fast. The spark that was once there was now flickering, replaced by feelings of resentment and disappointment. A month crawled by, and there I was, engrossed in my work in the home office, when I heard some commotion outside. I thought that Wanda was just moving things around again, but I couldn't be more wrong. I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw Wanda and Lester packing up some bags, moving things outside the house as if they had an escape plan in motion. Confused and concerned, I approached Lester, asking him what the heck was going on, but he seemed both embarrassed and irritated, avoiding eye contact and answering me altogether. Rude, frustrated with Lester's lack of response, I turned to Wanda directly, hoping to unravel the mystery, and to my surprise she smugly said, "I'm giving you what you wanted. I'm moving out." Initially, I'm not going to lie, you all, a wave of relief washed over me. Finally, my sick mother-in-law was leaving my house, meaning that I'd finally have my husband to myself. I thought that Lester had finally grown a pair and stood up to his mom, paving the way for us to repair our strained relationship. However, my relief was short-lived when Wanda dropped another bomb. "And I'm taking my son with me." The revelation hit me like a ton of bricks. What? Why? I was hurt. I was angry, and I was confused. Wanda went on to explain that they were both tired of my BS, and that they wanted some peace of mind. "I even told him to divorce you, seeing as he doesn't need you anymore. But he said he still loves you, which is unfortunate." "Is that true, Lester? Do you love me?" "Of course it's true." "Then why are you leaving me?" "It's because he doesn't want anything to do with you. I mean, look at you. What sort of wife are you? You can't cook, you can't clean. That's why he wanted me to move in the first place. He knew he would probably starve to death if I wasn't around." Ouch. I looked at Lester, and he just looked away. I couldn't believe I let my desperation cloud my judgment. This man wanted to be with me, but he still had his mother around? Why? Then it clicked. Lester probably only wanted me for my money. You see, Lester was someone who struggled with financial stability. He could never hold a proper job down for long periods of time, and he never had enough money to pay for rent and bills. Now, this didn't bother me. I had always been the primary breadwinner. That was how our dynamic worked. Again, I'm not a traditional wife, so bringing home the bacon wasn't an issue for me. So why on earth was this man moving out with his mom if he didn't have the money? Did he get a better job and didn't tell me? It was all very confusing. "I just have one question. Who is going to be paying for your new lease and rent?" "Are you thick My son, of course. Oh, really? Well then, if that's the case, then fine. You two can go. Lester had the gall to be upset. What? You're giving up on us, just like that? Why not? You've made the decision to leave with your mom, so you two can go. Claudia, let's talk about this. We weren't even being that serious about leaving. He started droning on and on about how he was testing my loyalty and how he'd never actually leave. I was confused, and so was Wanda. She started asking her son why he was backtracking now, and I didn't understand either, and I didn't want to understand. I just wanted those two bozos out of my place. Once Lester realized that my decision about them leaving was final, he angrily finished packing, and the two of them left without a second look. As the door closed behind them, I crumbled into tears, not out of sadness, but out of frustration with myself. I felt stupid for allowing a man back into my life when I clearly wasn't ready for it. The truth was, I had become desperate for love and affection. Could you blame me? I had been single for 10 long years by that point, and loneliness clearly took over my judgment. At that moment, I realized that I deserved better. I wouldn't let myself cry because of Lester and Wanda. No, I had to pick up the broken pieces and move forward. So that's what I did. That very same day, I got rid of anything that reminded me of those two clowns. I also saged my home because I wanted their bad energy to stay far away. It was a therapeutic process, cleansing my home of their presence. Once that was done, I focused on ending this embarrassing chapter of my life. I got to work drafting the divorce papers that would finally free me from my good-for-nothing husband. A month had passed without a word from Lester, but the time had come to serve him with the divorce papers. I wanted to see his face and his reaction when he knew I was being serious. So I got all dolled up, dressed nice and pretty, and headed out to their new home, which Wanda made sure to tell me about because it was in one of those rich people's neighborhoods. Pathetic. I wasn't just seeking closure, I was ready to embrace the beginning of a new self-empowered chapter. I rang the doorbell, and soon enough Lester came out of the house looking a bit stressed and worried, but once he saw me, I could see it clear as day, the look that cursed every stupid man that walked on the planet. Regret. Wow, you look... I've come to give you the divorce papers. Lester looked shocked. What? What are you talking about? I don't want to be with you, so I'm divorcing you. Hey, listen. You don't have to do that. I know things have been weird the past couple of months. Weird, Lester? You left me so that you could be with your mom at your grown age? You should be ashamed of yourself. I was trying to prove a point, okay? Well, I'm glad you got whatever you wanted out of this because we're done. Claudia, you're being delusional. Was what your mom said true about you wanting her to move in because you wanted what you couldn't have with me? A doting and submissive wife? One who is always cooking and cleaning? How could you ask me that? Did you only want me for my looks, my money? That's ridiculous. I could never. You know what? I don't even care. Have them signed ASAP. This shouldn't take too long because of the prenup, so please do the needful and I can be on my merry way. Lester started yapping about how he needed me and how he couldn't do this alone, which prompted me to ask, how are you affording this place anyway? And Lester went quiet, looking all sheepish and embarrassed like he normally would. After some moments of him struggling to find the words, Lester started spilling the beans. Because of our argument, you know, the one where he lied to me, Lester got upset. He was mad because I wasn't speaking to him. So to teach me a lesson, he wanted to scare me by pretending to move out of the house with his mom, hoping that I'd fight for our relationship and start talking to him again. What an idiot. So when things didn't go according to plan, he quickly got himself a fancy place that he could barely afford. And when I looked at the place, it was decent. I'm not going to lie. Even when I pulled into the driveway, I felt intimidated. He started getting more and more panicky when he saw that I wasn't budging, saying that he didn't know how he was going to cover rent for the next month. I started laughing, and this pissed him off. He began begging and pleading for another chance. He said he couldn't survive without me, acknowledging how he messed up and how he learned his lesson. However, I had learned my lesson and wasn't about to fall for the same manipulative tactics. He kept trying to go back and forth with me, and I was forced to drop the papers at his feet and leave. 1 more month went by, and I was minding my own business when my phone rang. The caller ID showed Wanda's name, and I couldn't help but wonder what she could possibly want. I answered the call, only to be met with a tone of desperation and frustration in Wanda's voice. "Claudia, this fool, this moron, he's ruined everything. Please, you have to help me, please." "What's going on? Slow down." "Lester, he lied to me. He said he had the funds for this place, but we're only 2 months in and completely drained of cash. You have to help us." I couldn't help but laugh. Wanda didn't find this amusing, so she started calling me heartless and selfish, saying I was awful for not helping her mother-in-law and her husband. "Damn, he didn't tell you that either?" "Tell me what? What's going on?" "I dropped off the divorce papers a month ago. We're in the process of ending things, so I don't owe you anything." "What?" "He told me to call you and ask for help." He couldn't even face me himself. "Wanda, no offense, but you did a terrible job raising that man." Wanda started yelling at Lester in Spanish, and I couldn't get everything, but it wasn't rocket science to figure out that she was cursing that man out, probably regretting not getting her period when she was pregnant with him. I could hear him shouting back in the background, but she just wouldn't let him get a word in. He was in the wrong, and he needed to know it. I'm guessing Wanda forgot to hang up because the fight continued. I was considering getting some popcorn so that I could witness the chaos. It was crazy, you all. I heard dishes break and things being thrown. It sounded like a fight club on the other line. Finally, Wanda got back on the phone, panting. "Claudia, I know you don't owe us anything, but please..." "Stop right there, Wanda. Since day one, you've been awful to me. You called me all sorts of names and made me feel bad, and now you want me to help you? I know you only have 2 brain cells to rub together, but please think about that for a second and ask yourself if you think that's ever going to happen. But you and your son are some of the stupidest people I've ever met. Do me a favor and pretend that this marriage never even happened. I don't want it following me." "Claudia, wait. Oh, and good luck scrounging up money to pay for your rent." Then I hung up the phone. She tried calling me back, and when that wasn't working, she was texting. I blocked her. Revenge never felt so good, you all. I know she was punching the air and ripping her hair out. I was living peacefully in my house, enjoying my own company, and the people who made me suffer for the past couple of months were now panicking and were on the verge of being homeless. Funny how karma works, huh? Lester can't even be mad because he did this to himself. It was really such a shame, but I'm glad it's no longer my business. Good riddance.